automation space, in the intelligent automation space, for over 20 years. And what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about all these new technologies, how intelligent automation, generative AI, some of the new AI products and services that are coming to be, and how mainstream businesses across many industries and verticals are leveraging it to do three things: to empower the people that work for them, to increase productivity, and drive profit. And when we say drive profit, of course, there's a cost element and an ROI element, but there's also an element of doing the best for your customers or your patients or your end users. And so these technologies can really change the way we do business. So the world is facing a real productivity crisis, and we all read about this every day in the newspaper. Labor participation has been going down, populations are shrinking in certain areas of the world, and productivity growth has taken a hit. And yet, we expect to do more products and services, to have more innovation, and to have more things to help. 90% of businesses are actively investing in digital transformation. However, the progress gains that they see are not enough to meet the loss of productivity and cost-saving targets that they might have. McKinsey's State of the Automation study recently revealed that most companies have automated only 25% of tasks that can be automated, and 75% of this still needs to. So why is that the case? If we feel the technology has been undergoing innovation for very many number of years, there are three reasons we specifically see why the adoption of automation or the adoption of productivity gains because of automation and Gen AI haven't been seen by businesses. User adoption still lags due to frustrating user experiences and inefficient process design. It has become citizen development in some ways, and so the usability of it has to be really, really well thought out. Siloed applications also present another critical barrier. They impede the end-to-end process automation that we would see otherwise in businesses. And they also drive up digital transformation costs when you have these siloed applications that work within their own ecosystems. And the third reason why this is the case is inaccessible data, such as unstructured content on documents, restricting that scope of automation. So it's really, the chicken and egg situation. Do you digitize first, then automate? Do you automate? And because of that, do you digitize? Now, Gen AI, and we've all been living it for the last 6-8 months, has transformed the world. It really has transformed the world of business because really, what it really does is promise to close that gap that we had created in this productivity crisis that we see in most verticals, in most industries. And based on, I think it was McKinsey again that put out this report, that they said that the Gen AI ecosystem would add about 4.4 trillion in productivity to the world economy. My pitch today is when you combine these two technologies, intelligent automation and Gen AI are really built to go hand in glove. And when you put them together, they help businesses in many ways. One is effortless adoption. Remember, the usability of it was one of the key reasons why we couldn't meet that productivity requirement. Seamless integration. Because we work with all sorts of applications, intelligent automation really bridges that gap, becomes that platform of choice that can take those silos and make them integratable. And then guardrails for safe use, of course. Anybody dealing with AI today, hot topic of conversation. How do we make sure? What are the guardrails? How do we protect the data integrity? How do we deal with that data responsibly and so forth? But when we are able to use technology to bridge that gap, again, McKinsey comes back to say that this could unleash about 8.8 trillion in productivity. And this is a key reason why I think every business and every vertical has to look at it from this set of eyes to say, how can we get that productivity? How can we make our employees be able to do more with less or do less with more technology, whichever way you look at it? And how do we unleash that potential of new products and services and innovation that these technologies promise to bring. Now, AI and automation, in my opinion, is essential. We run a survey, an independent survey, nothing to do with the product or the platform, and we interview C-level executives from about 1,000 to 2,000 different companies. And we put out this report called Now and Next because we get a pulse of what businesses are looking for, what are the biggest problems in, everything from Fortune 1000 to the mid-sized businesses to the new startups in technology. And 88% of them feel that AI is key to successful business process automation. 63% of organizations have already deployed AI in some form or fashion. 72% plan to do it in the next 12 months if they haven't already. And virtual assistants are definitely one of the key ways that they are using AI. So today I wanted to talk about intelligent automation and AI in two areas. The areas of possibilities for all verticals and industries and businesses, and the area of responsibility. So let's start with the possibilities. I've taken 3 use cases here to really dig into or give a real life example of what we see our customers and partners working on. The first one is complex document processing. Gen AI has really transformed many things, but nowhere as much, I think, as it has in document processing. So I will go into some of this detail in the next few slides, but I've taken the loan application process and given a before and after scenario to make us understand the possibility of how it can transform a business, how it can transform customer experience, and how it can transform employee experience. And if we get these 3 things right, and we are able to deliver it to the right ROI, then basically we've left the world of business a better place than we found it. And there are some additional use cases that we can discuss if we need to. The second aspect of what I would like to talk about is a service triage. We all deal with customer service, a very heavy lift in many companies. And obviously, it's a very human touch. It's a very human element that the service we provide to our customers. And how can we do better with Gen AI and intelligent automation? And the third, of course, is employee productivity, because, again, all technology's purpose is human enablement. That's it. So if we enable the humans to do better, more, happier, nicer way to deliver their products and services, then it lifts basically the whole company. Sometimes it can lift the whole industry. So let's go into complex document processing. Just giving you a quick overview of a process. You don't have to get into every detail. But we all know, for example, you're applying for a loan, you call into the loan analyst, he receives the information that you've given, they or she, and they look at the diverse document types, they, compartmentalize what is standard, what is not. Anything that's not standard increases processing time. Then there are legacy document management systems sometimes based on whether it's a government application or a grant, for example, or the organization itself. And again, that unstructured data has to be stored in these documents in legacy applications. Then the analyst manually reviews and reconciles, and then reads the lines of codes. Again, they have to put that into the system. And by the time it gets to the customer, it is about 3 to 7 business days. Now, 70% of case time collecting and organizing customer data. That loan analyst spends 70% of her time doing so. What can Gen AI and intelligent automation combined together do for that analyst and do for that business? Reduce it from 3 to 7 business days to less than 5 minutes. And this is already being used everywhere. So this is not aspirational. This is something that all our customers in the insurance industry, in the banking industry, have already utilized and are running bots 24/7 doing this. But the bots themselves are able to take the information, structured and unstructured, take that in real time, digest it, separate the structured, separate the unstructured. Take the unstructured, figure it out,
put it into, whether you use Gen AI or something else, you would utilize a way to natural language process, take out that information, put it into a digital form, and take the semi-structured data that you have, and again, digitize that. The analyst then is given a completely integrated content that it can quickly examine and extract data and say yes or no. And sometimes there's always the 80-20 rule, right? 80% follows the algorithm. It's easy to say yes to, 20% are exception management, and they can spend that time on that exception management. Success or reject, and the customer is happier. Customer gets an answer straight away. The loan analyst is able to deliver superior service, of course, but more importantly, can do it easily. It makes their job easier. I have a demo here, which I'm not going to go into, but I'm happy to share this later on if anybody wants to watch it. But it tells you how much the UI, the user interface, that has changed because of intelligent automation and Gen AI, and how easy it makes it for that end business user to utilize these systems. You do not have to be a developer anymore in order to use these systems. You don't have to have a substantial IT department whose day in and day out job or a center of excellence that is delivering this to the business users. It is so seamless. It is so user friendly that's why it is taken at this level, that you can have every loan analyst utilize these systems. Now, when we do so, and I've given some examples here so that we understand the complexity and the types and the variations in document processing that these technologies can handle. But we see about a 95% reduction in manual effort in our customers. We see 100% reduction in errors. And this is, I'm preaching to the choir here, but in the banking industry, in the insurance industry, this alone is substantial enough from a cost perspective, from an ROI perspective, and not to mention a business perspective. Also, an 85% faster turnaround, as I mentioned, the 80-20 rule. Most people follow the typical algorithm, and then you always have those exceptional cases that lead a little more TLC, and that's what the analyst spends their time on. But everything from bank statements to diagnostic notes, contracts, credit approval forms, customer surveys, they all are being utilized, or processes are being driven by intelligent automation and Gen AI. Let me go into the second use case, accelerating customer service. Now, typically a customer calls a support agent, and we've all been there. And except for Amazon, I think most people have a pretty complex customer service, process. But the customer calls in, they submit tickets. The support agent has to look at it, and again, spend 70% of their case time understanding that incoming ticket, and then addressing the request. Instead of spending the time with the customer, they're actually spending time understanding what the ask is, what the needs are, and how do I get that to the customer. And again, the process is listed here, but this is a very typical process. You have to look at different knowledge bases, look at different records, find the resolution, write it up. If there's an invoice, is there a pricing requirement, et cetera, before the customer's query is answered. Now, again, if you have automation and Gen AI, you can bring that down to less than 5 minutes. And I can give a couple of examples later on, but this is really, really cool in my opinion, and I am a techie. But just the fact that Gen AI can translate multiple languages, the fact that Gen AI can look at that case that has come in, and look at it from a natural language processing model, look at it from a sentiment analysis, and is able to very quickly, using the text, parse that information to tell that support agent whether it's a quick information ask, it's a service ask, and so forth. And that decision tree is simplified for that agent. It also updates all the information across systems using our bots and intelligent automation. And then Gen AI can even draft the email to send it based on what that bot does. And the customer gets a very, very comprehensive service very, very quickly. Again, going into that detail, there's everything from what an agent can do. An agent can use GenAI intelligent automation solutions for account opening, for pricing and quotes, complaint resolutions, clarifications, support. It comes from many angles. So it could be product support, it could be service support, it could be returns, it could be any of these. And we see typically in our customers about 100% reduction in average handling time. We see about 100% data accuracy, which before human error, unfortunately, does occur. And then 3 times the increase in ticket processing capacity. And I have a great use case of this at the end of the presentation, which is not just inspirational, but I think leverages technology so well. It's really kind of a beacon to have all businesses or all products and services look at it from that angle. The third, use case that I wanted to get into was the employee productivity. So how does every employee leverage these new technologies? How does every employee make their job better, easier, faster, a version of it for what they do? Now, let's take something simple like, asking for time off. A typical employee has to go into, so you look here, there's a PTO request, so they go into Workday, they put in some information, then they have to go into Teams or Outlook and put it in their calendar. They also have to go into Okta in order to make sure that, they've been logged in correctly. And then there's some Okta issues sometimes for logging in, and then that becomes a support ticket, there's ServiceNow involved. And just to ask for a day off, an employee, for example, in this case, has to get into a multi-process system in order to get that time off. And yet, from a corporate point of view, for compliance and governance, we need all these systems updated. We need it done right. We need it to be available. The data has to be digitally available in, again, disparate systems that don't talk to each other. And so you're doing that data input into multiple systems manually sometimes. With Employee Copilot, and Employee Copilot is something that we have, which is intelligent automation and GenAI, but with a user interface that basically allows an end employee to just quickly use a click of a button to do so. They can just click a button to have a bot. You just tell the bot, for example, I need day off tomorrow, etc. That's it. Goes into Workday, puts in the request, goes into Okta, logs it in, updates your calendar even, has an out-of-office message that is updated, etc., etc. Now, just that seamlessness of a very, very simple process that can have multi-step for an employee. Now, think of all the administrative tasks an employee does in a typical workday. It could be certification, expense monitoring, or travel reimbursement, coordinating meetings, time off requests, change of address, and all of this benefits enrollment, which we have to do every 12 months, for example, just a multi-process, no value add work that the employee goes through. And the bots and intelligent automation can help at that level, at that employee productivity level. Now, if you're an organization with 5,000 employees, 10,000 employees, or 50,000 employees, extrapolate that into the time savings or the cost savings or the effort required and the happiness that basically employees have by not doing some of these repetitive administrative work. So I wanted to put this all together to show you a use case that a customer of ours utilized GenAI and intelligent automation for that I found superbly inspiring, of course. But I was like, yes, this is exactly why technology can be such a buddy, such a friend to processes. So let's get into it. There's a lot of information on the slide, but I'll walk you through it. So we have an organization we work with, and they help refugees in the Ukraine. Now, typically, when the refugee has an aid request, they send a telegram or a WhatsApp to the aid agency to say, hey, where's the nearest evacuation center? Or I need size 2 diapers because I have a 2-year-old. Or I need this medicine because I'm diabetic and I'm in a war zone and my pharmacy is closed, right? The volunteer on the ground manually records these requests. They monitor basically the inbox. They extract the center name, where that the aid request came from. They have to get the date, they have to get the person, the details, fill in a Zendesk support ticket. That support ticket is then generating a report. The report is then sent by email to somebody outside of the war zone who then looks at it, extrapolates it, gets all the information, places the orders, and sends that information back to the volunteer on the ground. Now, this can take a substantial amount of time. We just created a simple bot that basically does all of that. So if you see, step 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 was what the bot was able to do. And that made it, 520 annual hours saved per volunteer. There was a common sign-in sheet. There was a structure for the evacuation center. The data entry errors were minimized. And not to mention, in this particular case, they needed that capacity to come up very, very quickly, and they were able to do so. But then we looked at the entire system and we said, okay, how can we use Gen AI and intelligent automation together to make this even better? So now the system that we're working on currently with them is where when that Telegram WhatsApp message comes, Gen AI looks at it, takes that information, separates it as a service request or an aid request. Service request is I need a diaper or medicine, etc. And an aid request is, where's the evacuation center? What time are you open? Is there a hospital nearby, etc. Gen AI can then separate those two. Intelligent automation, the bots can then take all the information requests, look at your FAQ or your data set that you have, and using Gen AI, answer immediately, instantly. So imagine a refugee in the middle of a war zone saying, where's the nearest hospital? And getting an answer in 2 minutes based on the location, based on their GPS, and based on all the information. Because again, in these cases, of course, the hospital is not stationary. It does move based on what's going on in the war zone. And so it is live. It has to be live data. Once it does that, then it takes the service requests and collates them all. So it can take all the requests for medicine, put it all in one report, send it to one volunteer outside. That volunteer can then just file that report, or again, the bot can do so, and let the Red Cross know that this one particular region, these are the requests for that week or whatever else it is. And immediately also reply to them, to the volunteers on the ground, that yes, it has been submitted, so forth. Now, in this particular use case, I mean, first of all, we can all sympathize and we can all understand the gravity of the situation on the ground when bombs are falling or things are changing on a daily basis, or there's so much of strife. To have these processes run seamlessly is very, very important. And when technology can deliver that consistently and at a scale that is not possible otherwise. So, for example, with this bot that we created, the aid agency was able to increase aid requests processing by 400% per volunteer per day. Now, again, put this in a business context. That's the benefit you can bring to your customers, to your partners. How does that drive your profits? How does that drive your customer service? How does that drive your competitive advantage? And how do we bring that all in to utilize technologies to really change the way that process delivers? So now I come to the responsibilities area. I mean, you can't open a newspaper or a magazine today without talk about AI and ethics and responsibility. We are at a precipice, really, and AI is taking off at unprecedented levels, and we bear a responsibility to do it right. We have seen the possibilities of what it can do, and if we have the right guardrails and if we have the right mindset as we create these technologies, then and of course we deal with it responsibly, then I think yes, we will be better off as a society. We will have better products and services. There is an evolution of what is required in our lives today, and we can deliver on it. So the three things that I would like to talk about here from a responsibility angle, which comes up time and time again in an organization like ours, where we have a technology platform that is AI driven, where we have customers calling in, day out on customer service requests, that we train the AI. And I really look upon this as an opportunity that if we want to leverage the benefits of the AI, we bear a responsibility to really leapfrog the biases we have as a community. So if we have, for example, AI or a natural language processing bot like Gen AI or ChatGPT, if we are able to have more folks, more digital inclusion, then they are trained by a more diverse set. And when they're trained by a more diverse set, we all know that we can leapfrog those biases. Some of these biases are cultural, some of these biases are unconscious, some of these biases are just exist, and some of them are just bad actors, right? And all of that can be leapfrogged because bots or AI can separate feeling, of course, from their data sets. So the larger the language model, the deeper the learning, the more the machine language or machine learning that we can make more inclusive, more accessible, more digital inclusion worldwide, different segments of society, whether it's men and women, whether it's students, whether it's people in Africa and people in Antarctica, for all, the more inclusive we get these models, the better these models will be. Then, we have a manifesto of ethical guidelines that talks about, how we train these models, of course, the responsibility we owe to humans everywhere. How can we be more human? How can we have more security for those data sets? How can we have, GDPR took us a long way in understanding how data had to be managed. Now look at it from an AI-centric perspective. And how can we deal with that data more responsibly? How do we make sure, these algorithms that we're writing are definitely more secure, of course, more diverse, more inclusive, but again, dealt with or written with more responsibility. And then the last, but definitely not the least, the future work transitions. We say that the way we have worked or the way we work today is so different from the way we worked 20 years ago when I was at Bond University. And the way we will work 5 years from now is going to be substantially different because of these technologies, because of the evolution that we are seeing currently. But the more we use these technologies for the betterment of humans, the more we should value these human values that we have, in our workforce, understanding that the employees that bring empathy, the understanding that the employees that show up for teamwork, the employees that really care about that end customer, these are the values we really want to hone in on and encourage and do more of, frankly, because everything else the bots can do. It's the human values that we really have to kind of hone in on and be more human, and we utilize technology to do so. That's the only purpose of technology, and I stand by that. I really do. So that's my presentation. I'm happy to take questions. I will definitely send out the demos if anybody's interested, but I'm happy to answer any questions if somebody wants to pose them.